Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm going to be talking about the new film adaptation of the classic Agatha Christie story, which is Murder on the Orient Express. Um, Agatha Christie is known for tons of mystery and suspense novels. In a way, she kind of pioneered the genre in a way. She kind of introduced us to different ways of resolving a murder mystery. Like you can have characters that aren't human characters as the murderer. You can have more than one, person who is involved in the murder and stuff like that. She really taught us how to really look at murder mysteries differently, and that's something I've always kind of respected with her. She's kind of the Stephen King of mystery and suspense. I guess that's the best way to put it. But for this new interpretation of Murder on the Orient Express, because this isn't the first one, I think this is the third interpretation of the story on the big screen, based on the classic Agatha Christie novel. And it centers around a detective named Hercule Poirot, who has appeared in other Agatha Christie stories as well. He's kind of the reoccurring detective character in her stories. He's always kind of the one who is in charge of solving all these mysteries within her stories. But anyway, he's on this classic Orient Express train. He gets a free ride because he's doing a favor for a friend of his. Very early on in the movie, we find out, he's a very distinct detective. He looks for very specific things. He kind of plans ahead, even if the plan doesn't go the way he wants it to. He's very goofy. He has a very unique way of looking at things. But he's on the Orient Express. He's about to hopefully get some rest for a while from taking on mystery cases, or cases in which he has to solve a mystery of some kind. But while he's on the Orient Express, one night a person is killed on the train. And obviously, since he's aboard the train, people want him to solve the mystery of why this guy was possibly murdered. So the thing about Hercule Poirot, I guess that's kind of the running joke with him too, is whenever he wants to go on vacation, or whenever he wants to go get lunch, or whenever he's meeting up with a friend, there's always a mystery for him to solve, and it always comes up at the worst possible time for him, even when he's trying to get vacation and time away from mysteries and these cases that he really doesn't want to solve until he's had a little vacation every once in a while. But he is, on this murder mystery on the Orient Express. He has to figure out who it is. Everybody has kind of their own iffy background of their own, so it's kind of a very tough case in the sense that how do you take all that iffy information of people who possibly knew this guy, people who personally know this guy, and all these other factors that go into it. That how do you really figure out who exactly did this? You're in a confined space. This train gets stuck in an avalanche. There's just so many things that happen, and so many different ways that Hercule Poirot can possibly interpret this case. But during the course of the film, he finally figures it out. But it's definitely a huge journey for him as far as who exactly was the murderer of this person. But overall, guys, I enjoyed Murder on the Orient Express. It's not the greatest Agatha Christie thing I've ever seen, but I think it's a very respectful adaptation. Kenneth Branagh, who's also directed the first Thor film and has acted in numerous films. He plays Professor Lockhart in the Harry Potter films. Very respectable actor, very respectful director. Very respectful director. I loved his work in the first Thor film, like I said. He also did that Jack Ryan film that didn't do so well a couple years ago, but we've all had our bad days at the office. I'll give him a break for a while from that one, but um, he did an overall good job with this movie. I enjoyed it. I liked the whole whodunit mystery behind the movie. There's just a lot of really respectful things that he did with this adaptation that I really enjoyed. But so for my positives and negatives of Murder on the Orient Express, Kenneth Branagh's Hercule Poirot performance, I think, was definitely the big highlight of the movie. He definitely had a more comedic take on the character. He had a very unique way of looking at things, unique way of explaining things to people and stuff like that. Just a very unique character. It's one of those characters where you almost kind of hope they make more Agatha Christie film adaptations because we want to see more of this character. He really did a very good job with making a very interesting character that had an interesting way of looking at things. So as far as Kenneth Branagh playing Hercule Poirot, I think he nailed it. If they do make more Agatha Christie film adaptations, as once discussed, they should absolutely bring Kenneth Branagh back as Hercule Poirot. Rather, he is directing the film or not in future versions of Agatha Christie adaptations. But like I said, we don't really know yet if they are going to do that. But if they do, Kenneth Branagh is absolutely the man to bring back to play this character again. I like the whole whodunit mystery. We really haven't had a film in a while that's done this. I really like how Kenneth Branagh tried to bring that back with who is the murderer. You know, we're in a confined space. We're going to be stuck here for a while. Who is the murderer? You know, out of all these people, out of all their actions, out of how they respond to questions, who really did do this to this person? And I really liked how they really went back to kind of what mystery and suspense was, the whole whodunit mystery. I really like that they really tried to bring that back to film. So whether this film brings that back or not, I'm not quite sure yet. But I felt like as far as bringing that back, they did a good job with that. The cinematography is also very beautiful in this movie. Kenneth Branagh, whoever he hired for his cinematographer, really knew how to make the confined spaces work in the train, or if they're outside the train, or if Hercule Poirot is just walking around trying to gather clues. Just very beautiful shots. A very beautiful looking movie that really knows how to handle what should go into the frame for each and every shot of the movie. They did a beautiful job with the cinematography in this movie. The sets are also very beautiful in this movie. They really kind of capture, based on what I remember, what it looked like, what an Orient Express train really looked like if people were aboard it to go from one place to another. They really did make this look like this high class. Waiters and waitresses will serve you any second you need something on this train, or if something happens in the middle of the night that you need help with them. They really did make it look like this beautiful, high luxury train. And even when this murder mystery is going on, they still maintain kind of the beauty of what it's like to be aboard this train when you're going from one place to another. And even before they board the train, when they're in Jerusalem and he's solving a case there before he takes on the Orient Express case, just beautiful sets. They really found a way to make good Hollywood sets while also going to real places. Hopefully they did that for some of this. But really just kind of beautiful places to work with. I think Kenneth Branagh really knows how to do that as a director. So if he directs more movies, keep doing that, man. I mean, you're doing a great job with all that. Surprisingly enough, Daisy Ridley, who plays Rey in the Star Wars movies and is going to play her soon in December in The Last Jedi, and Josh Gad, who's known for voicing Olaf in Frozen, and from what I hear, a Frozen short film in the movie Coco coming up soon, and a Frozen 2 eventually. Those are two people I think that really stood out for me in this movie because, everybody knows that Josh Gad is Olaf, the voice of Olaf, and everybody knows that Daisy Ridley is Rey in Star Wars. One thing I think that really worked well in this movie is making sure that they're definitely the same people you know and love, but they're definitely playing the characters in this film. So I liked how I really got the impression she was playing this character in this movie, and I wasn't watching Rey from Star Wars. I really liked how she was able to separate those two performances really well, while also making sure that everything I loved about her performance with Rey worked its way into as far as how to be a good actress, worked her way into this character in this movie. And same with Josh Gad. Everything we loved about his voice with Olaf and Frozen worked its way into Murder on the Orient Express in the correct way. And he obviously converted over to a live action role in the correct way. So the two of them really stood out to me. I do have another comment about some of the characters in this film, but as far as Daisy Ridley and Josh Gad go, the two of them I thought for sure were very, very good in this movie. I liked how Kenneth Branagh had a closed quarters feeling in this movie. You really get the sense that you really don't have a lot of space to yourself on this train, and when the murder mystery is going on, that becomes even more uncomfortable because you really don't know who this killer is. You really don't know if you're sitting next to that person or if the person down the hall is that person. They really did a good job with making sure that when the murder mystery is going on, that closed quarter feeling on the Orient Express that you once loved is kind of uncomfortable now that the murder mystery is going on. So I liked how they managed to maintain and create that feeling when the murder mystery was happening. I also liked how Kenneth Branagh had some comedic levity in this movie. Like I said, Hercule Poirot, this is definitely a more comedic approach to him, but it's a correct, accurate comedic approach to him. So for those who are diehard Agatha Christie fans that always viewed him as a very serious character, I still think you get that character, but I also like how Kenneth Branagh added some appropriate comedic levity to certain scenes that the film really needs to kind of make it more fun and to move it forward a little bit quicker. So I liked how Kenneth Branagh worked that in to this movie. Now, for my negatives of Murder on the Orient Express, this overall is a very slow-paced film, and I know that they're trying to, create this feeling of, murder mysteries take a long time to solve. They have to interview each and every person. They have to look at all the possible evidence on the train. But I feel like they took it a little too slow. There's just a lot of scenes here that really felt like they could have been told quicker and faster. Some of the information could have been told better and more interesting. And some of the information I think that we needed to solve this mystery, along with Hercule Poirot, could have been told in a faster pace as well. So just very slow pace, and once again, that hurts how the information is told to you in this movie, how evidence is gathered. And I really think some of these evidence and clues could have been gathered faster, and I think they could have found an even more interesting narrative as to how Hercule Poirot pieced this entire mystery together, and I think they could have done it in a much faster and more interesting way. And also, like I said, going back to my comment about Daisy Ridley and Josh Gad, though the two of them were very good in this movie, unfortunately, we got a lot of star-studded cast that's kind of wasted here. It's great to see Johnny Depp in kind of a halfway decent movie again. It's great to see Penelope Cruz in this, and Michelle Pfeiffer and Judi Dench and all of them. But some of them really just feel like they're there to just take up space on the train. They're really not there to do anything else. Some of them are there to be, make a comment or to do something to kind of make the mystery, I guess, a little more suspicious after a while. But some of them just felt like flat characters to me. It's just like if you're really going to get, Penelope Cruz and Judi Dench and Daisy Ridley and all these other really big people, do something huge with them. Do something really interesting with them. And some of them, unfortunately, get flat characters to play, even though their performances are good with the material that they had to work with. I also feel like it's kind of a self-explanatory thing as to why we haven't got a whodunit mystery in a while, and that's because unfortunately this movie does feel like a very familiar mystery. Because these stories have been around for so long and have been told in probably numerous different ways by now, unfortunately by the time we go all the way back to kind of the roots of the whodunit mystery, it just feels very familiar. It felt like something that was told hundreds of times before in possibly more interesting ways, but they haven't brought back the whodunit mystery in kind of a 2017 fresh take on that. They really didn't do it that way. So even though I liked that they brought back the whodunit mystery, it would have been more interesting, I thought, to kind of make the mystery not so familiar as the way that they made it. I also thought Kenneth Branagh made a very interesting lead character with Hercule Poirot, but unfortunately the mystery he has to solve just isn't quite as promising as the character he plays. So I think why this film ultimately got made and why Kenneth Branagh's direction ultimately got approved is because there is such an interesting approach on playing Hercule Poirot, but unfortunately, the mystery he's trying to solve, the resolution we get, the clues that are gathered to solve the mystery, are just not quite as interesting as the actual Hercule Poirot character. So it's just one of those things where maybe a better script for him would have just been about Hercule Poirot, maybe solving something else. I think Murder on the Orient Express would have been maybe a perfectly great sequel choice. I felt like this is kind of a weird starting point for Kenneth Branagh's portrayal of this character, I guess. So overall, I liked the character more than I liked the mystery, and unfortunately, because this is a mystery and suspense film, I think making important characters and creating a very strong, interesting mystery to go with that are just as important as one of the other, and you can't make one more important than the other. They both have to be right on point, top notch, high quality, best you can make it, and unfortunately they favor one more than the other. So that's kind of a downside to me. But overall, I'm going to give Murder on the Orient Express an 8 out of 10. A pretty enjoyable murder mystery film. Not the greatest I've ever seen. If they do another whodunit mystery or even another Agatha Christie story as film at some point here in the future, I hope they make it, I want the mystery to be as interesting as the lead character. So hopefully Kenneth Branagh will play Hercule Poirot again if they do something like this again. But hopefully they give a more interesting mystery that really is kind of not afraid to take some liberties and do something more interesting than what they did here in this movie. So I enjoyed the movie. If you like these kind of films, I think you'll enjoy it. I don't think you have to rush out to the theater to see this one. I do enjoy it though, 8 out of 10. So if you like whodunit mysteries, if you kind of are interested in seeing how 2017 brings it back, even though it's not back in full form, give it a view. I think it's worth a try.